Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. As you may notice, Jane Monreal not at the desk. I will be sitting in for Jane as she rolls in on this beautiful Friday morning. And it's a beautiful Friday morning. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. Before we get into our weather, I will let you know we are expecting an update on the death of Charlie Kirk. Utah law enforcement officials and the FBI have told us that they do expect a press conference to begin at 9 a.m. We are hearing that may be closer to 9:30. Of course, we do expect to see more about this. This is a live look right now from that press conference. As you can see, just one guy up there. It looks like he's doing a mic check. So if there are any updates, we will let you know. But now to your forecast. I'm joined now by Chris Mulcahy. And Chris, looks like it's going to be a nice day out there.
That's been good. By the way, I've been looking forward to Jeb Day because I knew that you were going to be filling in. So good to have him, man. Already great start. But yeah, no, weather's been interesting this week, man, because it really has been on repeat. Each day kind of has a similarity to the last, and that's exactly true for what we have today. So roll tape. We're over on weather 2. We have a 60-degree dew point for the time being. So what does that mean? It's a little bit sticky. It's not too bad. Still feels amazing. 65 degrees is the new temperature starting off the 9 o'clock hour, and we only cool down to around 60, 61 in Mecklenburg County and the greater Charlotte area. That's amazing. That's actually warmer than where we have been over the last few mornings. And where we're going from here, we are going to see those dew points drop back to the mid-50s. That just means it's more comfortable air. Temperatures in the lower to the mid-80s, just where we were yesterday. The only difference is you might add a little bit of cloud cover here and there throughout the day, but all in all, it is going to be a mostly sunny one. At worst, a partly cloudy one. Here's a better look at where we're at right now around the area. We have 64 degrees over in Rockingham, 66 for you in Lancaster, and a nice little rebound for you up in Boone, 52. And just note, Boone, you have ranged anywhere from about the upper 40s to the upper 30s for your lows this week. So it's been all over the place across the board. High temperatures today, 83. Yesterday was at 84, 82 the day before, and then we have 76 on your Tuesday. If you remember, it was a lot more fall-like to begin the week, and then we had the lower to the mid-80s all in all. And it does look like our lows are going to be trending in a pretty good direction over the weekend. We will drop back to the upper 50s. That's still nowhere where we have been in recent days. We actually had some of our coldest air of the season and some of the coldest temperatures that we've had since May earlier on. So this is where we were earlier this week. We dropped down to 54 degrees September 9th, so that was on Monday. And then for your, no, that was Tuesday, excuse me. And then we also had 55 degrees on the 10th. So yeah, really what a situation. No, I'm mixing up my days. Yeah, Monday and Tuesday. There we go. It wasn't too long ago. Where am I at? And you can see that really where we have been and where we're going, not really a big change. I was showing you that it's either side of 60 degrees for our lows. That's pretty much where we're going to be. I I think the highs are going to be a little bit more drastic and jarring as we are working our way through the weekend. So I want to get right to our 7-day forecast, to our 10-day forecast, before I get to more of the big change that we've seen since the last time I was here in the Impact Studio. So for our Jerry Hunt Super Center 7-day forecast, we have the lower 80s today and tomorrow. That's great. It's amazing. It's going to be a great weather to go to that soccer game tonight, on Saturday night. You going, Jeb?
Oh, I wish. That game's sold out, Chris Mulcahy. Everybody's in town to see Inter Miami and Lionel Messi take on Charlotte FC.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so this is a big one. So this is good that the forecast isn't a bust because...
Beautiful. I mean, that's the perfect soccer weather.
And that's the thing. And there's also Scarowinds officially starting tonight, so that's going to be great forecast for that. And Scarowinds goes through this weekend. Pretty much now through Halloween, it's going to be Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays that you can be scared out of your you-know-what. And then you can expect a great weekend all in all. We have the mid-80s with sunshine on Sunday, mid-80s still on Monday. Now we get towards the changes. I have been talking about nothing as far as rain goes over the last 7 days. Now we are starting to see when the next wet weather system is going to start to pop up. And it looks like it's going to be Monday night heading into Tuesday. So earlier, just a couple of days ago, I showed you the 7-day rainfall map. This is technically called the Quantitative Precipitation Forecast.
Wow,
the
fancy.
QPF. Oh, I know, right? And this was a blank map. Just had a gray map a couple of days ago. Now we're starting to see signs of green, and that's just showing a potential for rain. Now, the reason why is because of a few setups. Number one, we have a developing low that's down towards the south, and it's a fading front over Florida that could kind of take a mind of its own, but that looks like it could take one of two directions, either heading directly towards the Charlotte area or gliding along the coast. Regardless, you're going to have more clouds. It will change up the forecast and also how we feel. So recently, we've been dealing with a great forecast because of that high pressure system. It's happy the high, as I like to call it. Whenever you have one of these, it is always just notorious for that beautiful type weather, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here in the near term. Whenever you have one of these, and here, let me show you what happy the high actually looks like. And this is his dating profile. Loves the sunshine. Dry weather is his jam, and he's cool to his left and warm to his right. So it's all about the rotation, that whenever it starts to push its way further off towards the east, since it rotates in a clockwise manner, that's going to allow for more push out of the south, which sometimes can drag in some warmer temperatures, but also drag in more moisture, and it definitely is going to feel a lot more humid. So looking to the south, we have a quasi-stationary front, just dropping all the long, pointless weather terms on you. But when this is around, it's a front that kind of moves around, and when it's interacting with a bunch of moisture, it's talking about daily showers and thunderstorms. So Jeb, you and I are big fantasy football fans, so I'm going to put a bookmark here, and big football fans in general. Last week, the Panthers might have lost any momentum they had when there was a rain delay, but it was really a lightning delay. I'm just saying that the one game this week that could have rain impact it and even some delays is the New England-Miami game. Now, if the only way that you'd want to watch that is if you're a New England or a Miami fan, because both teams are atrocious. As a New England
that's
fan,
a rough watch. I'm not necessarily sure a rain delay would be the worst thing to happen in that game. Maybe just wipe it off the map.
Maybe it actually gives somebody the spark that they need.
Hey, listen, there will be sparks flying. That's what it sounds like.
But I'm just letting you know, for sports bettors, for fantasy football, that a chance for rain delays sometimes can kind of alter different swings there. So let that know. And I shouldn't be telling Jeb this because him and I are playing each other in the WCNC Fantasy Football League.
True.
Jeb has Christian McCaffrey took the chance there.
Yep.
So
far paying off, paying dividends.
So we'll see. We're both 1-0, and I know everyone really cares about this, but I just want to broadcast here on the Impact Studio that Jeb's about to be 1-1 come Monday night.
We'll see about that, okay? We'll see about that.
But regardless, getting back to the weather forecast, you can see that a stationary front is down towards the south, but what's going to happen is it's going to slowly push its way further off towards the east, but then you start to see this circulation. What's called an upper level low will actually turn to a surface one, develops with this band of rain. So there's going to be a lot of rain off the shoreline. If you're going to the South Carolina coast this weekend, it will get a lot cloudier, especially Saturday heading into Sunday. I think the rain doesn't really introduce itself until about Sunday heading into Monday, but this is the big change that we're seeing. Now, a lot of models are saying nothing will happen, Charlotte will be dry. But then I would say about 2/3 of them are saying, no, rain is coming. So that's the big change that we have seen in the near term. I'll show you what it looks like on our long-range futurecast. Here's that low that we're talking about. So this is Sunday morning. This is Sunday afternoon to the evening, and at that point, you're seeing more rain heading into your Monday. Now, Monday looks to be dry for Charlotte, but notice all that heavier rain along the coast. This is technically a coastal low. If we had a better environment, less wind shear, things were stacked up for more of a tropical setup, it's these type of systems that so often than not, this time of year could turn into a named storm that oftentimes just a glorified low pressure system. But hey, we see that all the time. So I just want to let people know that some heavy rain is going to be certainly possible along the shoreline. But then watch, as this starts to move in, this is Tuesday morning heading into your Wednesday morning. That's where we could see some rain. So the biggest question mark we have is this low pressure system going to do one of two things? Is it going to move its way further off towards the north, like Charlotte, like this is showing, or is it going to take more of a turn? Because if it takes more of a turn towards the northeast, we're really just talking about more cloud cover. So it's either going to be taking this direct turn like this, or you see a more general push that way. Oftentimes in the tropics, it's a lot bigger forecast, but we have a lot that can change here. And this also is a good testament of what happens this time of year. It doesn't matter if this is going to be a named storm or not. You can see that earlier, even just yesterday, we're talking about, oh, there's a 20% chance it might rain for your Tuesday. No, now we're looking like a good surefire bet that not only are we kind of flipping the script as far as, oh, you're going to see a better chance for rain, but it's also going to start to feel a lot more humid as well for this system. So I'm just going to kind of put a question mark. I hate to do that because that means a lot of people have weather jokes saying that you have a 50-50 shot for something to happen. But anything that's that far out, about 5 days, there's a lot that can come to fruition. But here's the big shift. Once you get to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that comfortable dry air that I've been talking about is null and void. It's non-existent. Then we start to flip back over to more summertime. This is how we usually feel during the middle of August. It's not necessarily that where you can air you can wear, but it is certainly that, it's humid out, or walk outside and you're like, ugh. Well, we're going to have more of that, even though it might be a little bit cooler in the lower to the mid 80s. Just letting you know that there is a forecast change in general, and that's also going to keep some more continued rain chances as well. So for that 10-day precipitation forecast, instead of it being just all dry and flat line over the next few days, we only have that through the weekend. So the best days are really going forward. Tuesday's the best chance for rain, but then after that, you start to have that usual pop-up shower and thunderstorm chance that we should have had for most of the days in September, but instead it's been a little bit more fall-like. So for the last days of summer, certainly feeling a lot more like summer. And Jane is back in the studio, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to still talk and still stall.
No, it's all good. It feels great. We just got here. And Jeb, thank you for holding down the fort.
He did a great job, by the way.
I know you guys did. You guys are so
You guys
so
did all
good.
the heavy lifting. That was great. Thank you.
No problem. And and I also declared to everyone that I'm beating Jeb in fantasy football this weekend in our WCNC
oh,
I
league.
can't wait
please
for the update
share.
on Monday. I might have to send in a little video vlog.
Yeah, I know.
When I actually win.
No, we'll see.
Are we talking already? We're talking the trash talk? I
Yeah,
like it.
well, it's already begun.
It's been going on.
Did you have anyone on yesterday? I didn't have anyone.
No.
So
We're
it's still
starting-
0-0.
Okay.
So here we go.
Blank slate on Sunday. That's the way I like it.
Yep. Jeb's has the worst team in the league. No, just,
okay. There is.
I'm just
Literally
joking.
was the highest score.
Yeah, just joking. It's the best
It
one.
was
Yeah,
amazing.
no.
It was-
I usually do enter a losers bracket or whatever, the losers pool, that kind of fun.
Hey, we play for pride. If nothing else, we play for pride.
Someone's got to be a winner, even if you're a loser.
Especially here because we have some big hitters like Brad Panovich is in the league and stuff like that. Miles Harris joined us this year,
shout
so
out.
yeah, I
Sounds
know.
good. Brad.
His team's looking good.
Just naming a few. So
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Of
Have
course.
a good weekend. Enjoy the
Oh,
competition.
you know I will.
Friendly competition always here with the WCNC family. All right, we are back here about 9:15. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Want to get you caught up now with the very latest. We are awaiting a press conference. This is scheduled for 9:30. The latest on the Charlie Kirk murder investigation that is scheduled. This is the podium now as they ran a press conference overnight, giving the latest and running some new sound and with an update. And in just the last hour, you might have heard Jeb, my producer here, right at the top of the 9 o'clock, President Trump told Fox News that he thinks, quote, with a high degree of certainty that a shooting suspect is in custody. So we will keep tabs, get right to this press conference as soon as it starts. It is scheduled for 9:30. In the meantime, we will get you caught up with the overnight press conference. Of course, in Utah, they are 2 hours behind us. So let's get you caught up if you missed this last night. Here it is on WCNC Plus.
That's okay. I can. I think Hillary's going to introduce. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Hillary Kellner. I am the Communications Director for the Utah Department of Public Safety. This evening, we have FBI Director Patel, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, Governor Spencer Cox, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, and Commissioner Anderson, as well as, Commissioner Bo Mason, as well as some local partners here present with us today. Governor will kick it off. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here tonight. We appreciate the media and the partnership we have with you in helping us to get information out to the public so that we can catch this assassin and hold him accountable. We are going to share a portion of a video and that we have of the suspect, as well as some new stills. Those have already been released, but we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to cue up the video right now. Show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video, and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs I mentioned. These have been enhanced, so these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the T-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you'll go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again, the T-shirt. Blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out. We'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn the time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team.
Hi, everybody, 9:21, and we have an update in the suspect in Charlie Kirk's suspected shooter. The suspect has been named right now, and they have identified him as Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old Utah resident. This, according to 5 law enforcement officials just briefed on the matter. This is the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, of course. That happened on Wednesday. That person, as much as we know, has been identified. As you can see there on the bottom right-hand corner, by the way, we are waiting for a live press conference for the very latest. But we know Kirk, a co-founder of Turning Point USA, influential voice and conservative activist, was shot and killed Wednesday. They released pictures, as you see here, of the suspected shooter and wearing the long sleeve black shirt. In the meantime, as much as who this person was, they have not really released too many details in our initial briefing. But again, we are awaiting some more information. Jeb is here. You were here producing last night, Jeb, and things were developing fast once they released the footage and the video, and there were talks of they have somebody, they didn't have somebody. Initially, they released a couple of people, persons of interest, and then this is the conference that started way late last night.
Yeah, and I'll follow up on that. This has been the way this investigation has been exceptionally interesting. So I will tell you, yesterday at 2:45, there was supposed to be a big press release, press conference from law enforcement officials. That got delayed indefinitely. All of us here in the media were curious. You have some delays. For instance, we have this press conference that's supposed to be at 9:30. I would venture to guess that may be closer to 9:35, 9:40. Obviously, we'll bring it to you here live when that does come. But this one was delayed indefinitely for, quote, rapid developments, which, we've seen a lot of press conferences, a lot of law enforcement updates. We weren't totally sure what that meant. Finally, the press conference, they announced that there's going to be one at 9:30 or so. It comes down, and we actually got to see, and I'll pull that up, we got to see the video of
what happened?
Of the shooter coming down. And so here, we'll pull that up right now.
As he does,
this was the video that was released last night, and you can see him up there climbing down. This was the big update that they had been waiting on.
Wow.
And overnight, this video has been shared thousands of times, people trying to see it. The picture has been shared millions of times, and the report that we heard from President Trump was that a family member or friend of this Mr. Robinson actually came and confronted him and ultimately turned him in. Now, we haven't, that was from the president. We're waiting to hear more from law enforcement officials, likely to be disclosed in this press conference. But just how rapid the developments have come. When this first happened, I think a lot of people, especially online, were asking the question, are they going to find this person? They had the pictures, but you never know. But so much evidence, so much law enforcement, and that's actually what President Trump said during his interview today. He shared that it was the public's help that helped really make it possible to find this shooter or alleged shooter at this point.
Right, and the fact that they were holding off on releasing any image, video initially,
Right.
because they were thinking they were going to be able to rely on major technology
Right.
to be able to find the identity of the suspected shooter. They decided that they
Identified as wearing
needed the
Converse
public's help.
tennis shoes. It's important to note his black
and so
t-shirt,
with
his
that,
black
they released
pants,
these images
and
up the
there
stairs,
appears to be
going
some
up
white
to
on the soles of those
the,
Converse tennis
the
shoes.
roof
Those are all
of the
identifiable items that we're
building,
looking
and
for.
then last night, like you
In the
said,
stills that
releasing
are going to
that
follow
footage
this,
of then
you're going to see a
the
very
alleged
distinctive
escape,
T-shirt
and
with an
then
American
showing us and
flag
telling
and
us
appears to have
what
an
they
eagle
have,
on it. Here you see the
released
suspect
as
after
of
dropping off
yesterday.
the building. He
So
moved around across this
it
grass
obviously
area,
did take the
around the
public's
parking
help.
lot. After he crosses
President
the street,
Trump
this is where he
was
moves over
on
into
Fox
the wooded
News
area.
earlier this
This
morning
is the
for a live interview, and
video
that's
evidence
where
that
he
we
said
utilize to
we
track
do
his
have
movements
a
and
suspect.
to locate
Yeah,
that
he felt
firearm
very
in that wooded
strongly
area.
that there is
We
a
are
suspect
truly hopeful that
in
this
custody.
video and new
NBC
photos
News,
will lead
again,
to
just in the
even more
last couple
tips.
of
We've
minutes,
been working with our attorneys,
confirming that the
getting
person
getting
accused
everything
of
that we
fatally
need,
shooting,
affidavits ready,
Mr.
so
Kirk
that we can
is a
pursue the death
22-year-old
penalty in
Utah
this
resident.
case.
They have identified him as Tyler Robinson.
As he does, he's going to
according
climb off the
several,
edge
law
and
enforcement
then drop
officials
down to the ground. As he did that, he
It's
left
interesting, Jamie,
some
if you
palm
kinda watch this video.
impressions.
I mean, this is not
There's some smudges,
a
some places we're
small
looking to collect
drop.
DNA.
And
There's
you'll
a
actually
shoe
watch him
imprint
go-
where
and
we
he's wearing
believe the
Converse shoes.
suspect
That was one of the things that
is
stuck out
clearly
for me.
identified as
I
wearing
mean, that
Converse
is-
tennis shoes.
That's
It's
very
important to note his black T-shirt,
and they
his
found,
black pants.
They said during the
and
press
there
briefing
is
last
appears to be
night
some white on
that
the soles of
they
those Converse
saw-
tennis
they were able
shoes.
to
Those are all
connect these
identifiable
things. They
items that
saw
we're
his
looking for.
footprints. He had
In the stills that are going to
handprints
follow
of
this,
where he had-
you're going to see a very
exactly,
distinctive
from where he
T-shirt
had
with an
come
American
down,
flag and appears to have an eagle on it.
from
Here you see the
that
suspect
actual
after
roof,
dropping off the
and
building.
you'll
He
see
moved
him kind
around
of
across
run
this
through,
grass
kind of run
area,
towards a wooded
around the
area.
parking lot. After he
Law
crosses
enforcement
the
was
street,
able
this
to
is where he
use
moves
this
over
video,
into
use this
the wooded
specific part,
area.
seeing him run into the
This
woods,
is
to actually track
video
down the
evidence that
firearm
we
used
utilize
in
to
the
track his
shooting,
movements
and that's how they
and to
located
locate that
bolt
firearm
action
in that
rifle
wooded area.
that they
We
have
are
since
truly
linked
hopeful
to
that
the
this
actual
video
shooting charge.
and new photos will lead
Fascinating
to
that he
even more
dumped the
tips.
rifle.
We've been
Right,
working with
I-
our
in close
attorneys,
proximity.
getting
Exactly.
getting
I mean,
everything
close
that we
enough
need,
for them to be able to
affidavits
find it.
ready, so that we can
I've seen a
pursue
few videos
the
as
death
well
penalty
of
in this case.
Suspected shooter walking through a neighborhood. You know, he had
As he
has a
does,
very
he's going to
distinct
climb off
limp.
the edge
No one can
and
quite
then drop down
say
to the
for certain
ground.
what
As he
that
did
limp was
that, he
from.
left
Some are-
some palm
are
impressions.
thinking that maybe
There's some
rightfully
smudges,
hidden.
some places we're looking to collect
But the
DNA.
question I asked, and I
There's a
think the
shoe
question that will be
imprint
asked
where we believe
by
the suspect
community and law
is
enforcement
clearly
as well,
identified as wearing
is how
Converse
was this
tennis
man
shoes.
able
It's important to
to
note his black
traverse
T-shirt,
a
his
college
black
campus
pants.
like
And
this. I mean, the video you're watching
appears to be
right
some
now is
white
from
on the
after
soles of
the
those
shooting.
Converse tennis
That means
shoes. Those
he's
are all
able- I
identifiable
just
items
find
that
that
we're
hard to
looking
believe as
for.
someone who
In
on
the
college
stills
campuses
that are
or
going
on
to
a college
follow
campus,
this,
that he
you're going
was
to see a
able
very
to
distinctive T-shirt with an
move so
American
far
flag and appears to
unseen.
have an eagle on it.
You know,
Here you
I
see
mean,
the
if you look,
suspect
there's gonna
after
be
dropping
this
off the
is
building.
after
He moved
everything has
around
happened.
across this
Right.
grass
So I think
area,
there'll be
around
a
the
lot of
parking lot.
questions.
After he
Exactly,
crosses
a
the
lot of
street, this is
follow-up
where he moves over
questions.
into the wooded area.
The fact that
This is
that was a gathering and
video
now people
evidence
are
that
running away
we utilize to
from
track
the
his
scene,
movements
presumably
and to locate
right
that
after the
firearm
shot,
in that
right?
wooded
And
area.
so,
We are truly hopeful that this video
the
and new
initial
photos
focus,
will lead
and it's
to
interesting, the
even more
people,
tips. We've been working with our
stragglers or
attorneys,
walker, you know,
getting
people that
getting
are
everything
out
that
there
we need,
driving by.
affidavits
I see
ready,
one
so that we
white
can
car
pursue
drive by.
the death
I see one
penalty
person
in this
on the
case.
sidewalk. So limited witnesses
As he
at this
does, he's
point
gonna
in
climb
the
off the
immediate
edge
aftermath once he jumps
and
off
then
that
drop
building.
down to the ground. As he did that,
An
he
absolute
left
tragedy.
some
Yeah,
palm
I-
impressions.
You know, we'll learn
There's
more,
some
but
smudges,
I think
some
it
places
makes
we're looking to collect
everybody
DNA.
feel,
There's a
little more
shoe
at peace
imprint
that this
where we believe the
person
suspect
is no
is
longer
clearly
on the
identified as
streets.
wearing
Absolutely.
Converse tennis shoes.
The
It's important to note his
Utah
black
Department
T-shirt,
Public Safety
his black
Commissioner
pants,
Bo Mason
and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for.
And we could see that. He
In the
mixed in well
stills that
on
are
the college
following
campus.
this,
Clearly made an
you're going to
attempt
see a very
to
distinctive
fit
T-shirt
in.
with an American flag and appears to have an
And,
eagle on it.
so
Here
as
you
we
see the
wait
suspect
for
after
the
dropping
press
off the
conference, we
building,
saw a
he moved
couple of
around
people
across this
in
grassy
that little
area,
box there on
around
the
the parking
bottom
lot.
right.
After he crosses the
Set
street,
their
this is where
cameras,
he
their
moves over
microphones, so we
into
know this
the
is going to
wooded
be
area.
happening soon.
This is the
But we are also
video evidence
prepared
that
for
we
it to be delayed,
utilize
like
to
it
track
did.
his movements
It was delayed
and to
last
locate
night,
that firearm
Jed,
in
as
that
you
wooded
said.
area.
This is
We are
scheduled
truly hopeful that this
at
video
9:30,
and new photos portals
And,
will
we
lead
are
to
standing
even more
by
tips. We've been
for this press
working with our
conference to
attorneys,
happen.
getting
As you see
getting
footage
everything that we
from
need,
last
affidavits
night's press
ready,
conference
so that we
and
can
the
pursue
video that
the
they
death
released
penalty
that,
in this case.
took a life of its own, generated a lot of
As he does,
eyes.
he's gonna climb off the
and
edge
someone stepped up
and then
said
drop
they
down
saw-
to the ground.
and
As
it
he did
sounds,
that, he left
someone close
some palm
to
impressions.
the suspected
There's some
shooter,
smudges,
now
some
identified
places we're
as
looking to collect
22-year-old
DNA.
Todd
There's
Robinson.
a shoe imprint
We continue
where
to
we believe
monitor
the
these
suspect
pictures,
is clearly
and you can
identified as
see
wearing
when he jumps
Converse
off
tennis
that building,
shoes.
I mean,
It's
that's
important to note his black
essentially 2
T-shirt.
stories,
is
a story and a half.
That is a not.
And there
insignificant
appears to be
jump. I
some
mean,
white on
I'm
the
just-
soles of
I
those
think I
Converse
speak
tennis
for
shoes.
really
Those
the
are all
entire
identifiable
country
items that we're
when I
looking
say
for.
I'm interested to
In
learn
the
more
stills
about
that are
who
going to
this
follow
person was.
this,
Absolutely.
you're going to see a
So
very
much
distinctive T-shirt with an
information,
American
quite frankly,
flag and appears to have an
misinformation,
eagle
lack
on
of
it.
information
Here you see the
has led to
suspect after
misinformation
dropping off the
about
building.
what
He
has
moved
actually
around across
happened.
this grass
I
area,
think it will be
around the
helpful
parking lot. After
for
he crosses
everybody
the street,
to
this is
learn
where he
more
moves over
about what
into
really went
the
on.
wooded
Right,
area.
and that's why we
This is
leave it to the
the
law enforcement.
video
We here
evidence
on
that we
WCNC
utilize
Plus,
to
we
track
will
his
run this
movements
press conference
and to
in its
locate that
entirety.
firearm
We will
in that
not
wooded
take
area.
sound bites,
We are truly hopeful that
from
this
it at
video
all.
and new photos
This
will lead
is the
to
platform
even
where
more
you can
tips.
see
We've been
in its
working with
entirety,
our attorneys.
what law officials and investigators have to say on the matter. As of yesterday, we know that after the alleged shooter shot the fire, traveling a distance of roughly 175 yards, he was seen jumping from that building and then fleeing to a neighborhood, also dumping that rifle in the wooded area close by. But investigators have been quick enough and putting their technology and tools together to be able to show all of the pictures and the images and piece this together in a timeline where we could see who this was. And that's the important part in being able to capture a suspect as soon as possible. In a statement, Turning Point USA said Kirk had faced, quote, thousands
identified
of
as wearing
threats throughout
Converse
his
tennis
life,
shoes. It's
always
important to note his
prioritizing
black-
reaching as many young Americans as possible over his own personal safety. And that is what Mr. Kirk continued to do when he was on campus at the Utah Valley University. But again, if you are just joining us here at 9:32 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we are awaiting a press conference from law enforcement out of Utah. It is scheduled for 9:30. It does appear that they are running a little behind. We will get the very latest as President Trump in the last hour or so also told media that there is a suspect in custody. NBC News now confirming that suspect is a Utah resident, only identified as 22-year-old Utah resident Tyler Robinson. We are going to take a quick 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus and stay on top of the latest coverage here in the suspected shooter of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:35 on a Friday morning. I'm Jane Monreal. We are awaiting a live press conference. They just finished a mic check. Let's go ahead and listen in. They might be starting here right now. Let's go ahead and listen in. This is Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
I will tell you, he just told us there is now no official word of when this will begin. He said that he will give us a 5-minute warning, but it does appear that this may be delayed indefinitely. Obviously, we will keep you updated as we learn more.
All right, so Deb, you said yesterday they scheduled a press conference around 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock yesterday?
The first press conference was supposed to be at 2:45.
Okay, and that was delayed.
And that was delayed until 9 p.m. I'm not getting the same
sense that it's going to be
Right.
delayed for hours.
I don't think, because of the president telling everybody that there is a suspect and the suspect's identity being out there, I think that now there is this, law enforcement will be out there to share more details, but they're obviously dealing with so many different factors, so many moving parts, getting everybody in the right place, making sure they get all the details right, all the facts right, being able to answer reporter questions. So they want to make sure they get it right. Then they're on their own time. They want to make sure that they get it all completely factually correct.
And that makes sense. We got information last night. We were beginning to play you the latest from that press conference, but because of the developments this morning from President Trump, that press conference pretty much outdated. A lot of that information outdated, as the president this morning to Fox News said that a suspect has been taken into custody. So the image released, one of many released here in still photos in the aftermath of that shooting, and then the video where this suspected shooter was seen jumping off a building about 2 stories, and then into some thick grass, and then running across the campus, and then escaping into a nearby neighborhood and dumping his gun, also released as well. And we learned now that it might have been, this is old sound, I just want to let you know, but this is the video that we want to show you, that it might have been someone who is known to the suspected shooter, identified as 22-year-old Utah resident Tyler Robinson, according to several local law enforcement officials, as well as federal investigating this case. But that the suspected shooter was known to the person who tipped off authorities and investigators, letting them know who this person was. All right, so let's go right now to an interview, because as we were waiting for this press conference, our Nick Sturdivant yesterday spoke to Professor Bitzer about the political impact of this assassination of Mr. Kirk. Let's go to that now. Play this for you here on WCNC Plus.
Welcome here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene Bragg is here. We want to get to our top story, a story that we broke here on Live Impact News yesterday afternoon, and that is the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. A 31-year-old was shot and killed during an event he was hosting at Utah Valley University. Now, the manhunt continues for the shooter. We just got a bit of new information before we got on the stream. So the FBI released a photo of a person of interest. It is seeking a connection to this fatal shooting, again, at Utah Valley University. And this Charlie Kirk's death is brought on a discussion and conversation from both sides of the aisle. I want to bring in Dr. Michael Bitzer, political science professor at Catawba College. Dr. Bitzer, as always, friend to the program, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Let's get into it. I just want to get your reaction to his death. It happened yesterday afternoon. I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I was actually wrapping up class yesterday afternoon when one of my students looked at his phone and announced that Charlie Kirk had been shot. We didn't know much at that particular point in time, but in thinking about and studying and actually teaching a course this semester on polarization in American politics, I think this is a very dangerous inflection point that we are at. We have seen political assassinations, typically tending to be of elected officials in our past history. We've seen political violence. But this kind of targeting of political activists now, a very well-known conservative political activist, is something that really stretches the mind to consider where we are as a nation and how we are going to get ourselves out of this very deep, very divisive, polarized environment that unfortunately can bring such events to bear to our collective nation. And I'm not real sure where we head from here. My hope is that we will find our better angels, but this is going to be a real test of the American civic will.
Yeah, Dr. Bizzard, I was just about to say and follow up with a question. You mentioned political violence. You talk about the assassination attempts against President Trump. Also, earlier this year, Melissa Horton, representative out of Minnesota, Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, and Charlie Kirk. Now, I believe I'm missing a couple of other violent acts. But what does this say about where we are within our political landscape?
I think it raises real concerns about the willingness of individuals to take violent terroristic attacks such as these that ultimately end in murder of an individual and to try and normalize it in some way. I think, we need to be shocked into what this tells us about American political and civic life, and that, in any other event, we would hope that the vast majority, if not all Americans, would repudiate and call this to account, that this kind of behavior simply is not based on American values in any way, shape, or form, but this continues to be part of our political landscape. So I'm afraid unless we have a real reckoning, and it is going to be us, we the people, that need to have this kind of political reckoning, we can expect more of these kinds of events, unfortunately. And where that leads us, I am very gravely concerned about.
And I do want to add, and I said I missed a couple, but Nancy Pelosi, also, her husband was attacked.
Her husband as well, yeah.
I do want to ask as well, President Trump blaming the left. We heard from Republican Representative Nancy Mace, also blaming Democrats. When you hear this type of rhetoric, how do we move forward from something like this and lower the temperature when you see this seemingly divisive politics at play?
Yeah, I think it's first and foremost incumbent upon our leaders to wait, to have a sense of moderation, to find out the facts behind such an event. The FBI is doing all that it can to bring this individual to justice. We will then have, more information, hopefully at that point in time, but to basically start blaming the other side of the political aisle is not responsible leadership of any way, shape, or form. And I think, if we want to indeed tap down the rhetoric, it is those individuals that spur the rhetoric, the heated rhetoric, that will need to be held accountable for their rhetoric by us, the people. But I'm afraid that we are in such a deeply polarized environment. What we know as political scientists is that negative partisanship is the dominant driver in our politics. And that means it's not so much I support my party, it's that I hate the other side. And when we use rhetoric to classify them as enemies, as almost unhuman, that raises the potential for these types of violence in our politics.
Dr. Bitzer, before I get you out of here, and I know it's early, I know the search is still on for the suspect, but when you talk about a guy like Charlie Kirk, he had a huge impact on President Trump being reelected and also elected. You first heard of him, at least I first heard of him back in 2016. What impact does this have looking ahead at 2026?
I'd be cautious to really try and make any kind of electoral politics prediction at this point. I think it's incumbent that we mourn the loss of a human being, that we hold up their family in our thoughts, and that we bring the suspect to justice. Certainly, this will have an impact. I don't know what that impact is going to be politically in 2026. We are a year out from the general campaign leading into November of 2026. We'll have a very competitive U.S. Senate race here in North Carolina. We'll potentially have a competitive U.S. House race in the northeastern part of the state. But as I've always kind of contended, 1 week to the next in American politics brings things that nobody knows about. And so we'll just have to kind of wait and see how this plays out, and ultimately how the American people play this out. It is incumbent upon us to be able to reconcile these differences in ways that don't involve bullets, but rather the battle at the ballot box.
Well said, Dr. Bitzer. Hard to think about what happens politically when you have something tragic like this unfold, no matter what you believe in politically. Dr. Bitzer, thank you so much for your time and for the context and perspective, as always. We'll see you here shortly, I'm sure, here on the program.
Good to be with you.
And that was our Nick Sturdivant talking to Dr. Michael Bitzer about the latest political impact, the fallout following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we will take a quick 2-minute break and come right back as we continue to cover the shooting suspect, the latest on that, as we await a press conference out of Utah. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back. At 9:50, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We are continuing to cover the latest on the suspected shooter who has been identified now as a 22-year-old resident of Utah in the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. His name is Todd Robinson or Tyler Robinson, rather. This according to some senior law enforcement officials who briefed media, including NBC News. As we await this press conference, we are going to go to an earlier conversation between our Vanessa Rufus and local conversations spurting up here between actually from Vanessa with a student at Appalachian State University, and her name is Carolyn, and she is from the Republican college group up there at App State, and get her take from yesterday's recording. Let's play for that for you now here on WCNC Plus.
We continue now diving into the reaction from folks across the nation this evening. We have Carolyn Hupp, who is joining us. Carolyn, thank you so much for your time. We understand you're the vice president of the College Republicans at App State University in Boone. So thank you so much for your time here. And tell us your thoughts tonight. How are you feeling? How are you reacting? What are you hearing from your fellow members of the College Republicans?
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it was a shock. Half of us were in class, the other were on campus. We actually typically meet Wednesday nights, every other Wednesday, and this was one of the nights that we have our meetings. So we also have a Turning Point chapter on campus as well. So seeing the different reactions both from the College Republicans and Turning Point was just a shock. I mean, I was coming back from a hike, and I mean, I see all these messages, and it's like Charlie Kirk's been shot, and someone found the uncensored video, and like people, like it was just like our hearts stopped, and half of us just feel sick from just this tragedy that has happened, and the other half are wanting to uphold Charlie Kirk's legacy, and one of our members noted at our meeting that this is the most social media presidents that we have had to be united as conservatives, and it's something nice to see, but to come in such a bad way.
Now, I mean, we've heard... Yeah, we've heard this evening the Utah Governor Spencer Cox essentially calling this a political assassination. Your thoughts tonight on where we stand as a nation, political violence, the rhetoric that we're seeing right now. How are you feeling as a young person, seeing what's happening, watching these headlines, seeing what transpired today?
I personally feel that it's very disheartening to see that we are conservatives and liberals are being attacked for the views. It again, very disheartening to see that people choose the route of violence when one person has doesn't agree with you, and I think that there are many other ways outside of violence that we can solve these problems, and at the end of the day, it is the narrative from media, from social media to news outlets, that it was what makes these types of events hurt, because there's just so much different information going around. People don't know what is right, what's wrong. And so I think part of what happened with Charlie Kirk was like, people were like, oh, he's been shot. People saying that he's dead. People saying that he's in stable conditions. Like, what is it, you know? So seeing this, it really hurts, and our prayers are to Charlie Kirk and his family, and to all conservatives across the nation. I know that he was, at least for Gen Z, he was our advocate for our beliefs and our views, and he's someone that we felt like touched us in so many ways. And it's just sad to see that his life is now sadly at peace in heaven.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to talk more about, his impact on you. Clearly, he spoke to you. We know he's a polarizing figure, whether you agree or disagree with him. I mean, he was there and he was voicing his opinion. So I guess talk about, how he spoke to you and why he was such a key figure in your life politically and why it sounds like you looked up to him. So why? And explain that for folks watching here.
I remember seeing videos in high school just of Charlie Kirk when he started out, and I'm like, oh, that's like a really interesting person. I think the thing that popped at first was because of how vocal he is and was about his views, and being able to see that he can defend himself even against the masses felt really encouraging to me. And I know, as well as a bunch of other members in our club and organization, feel similarly. What I liked the most about him was how he was able to bring both politics and religion together within the conservative group. A lot of people don't like that, but as a Catholic, I feel like the way he presented his views really took place in my heart. And just seeing him within the past 2 years, I mean, go from where he was to where he is now. He was president of Turning Point, but I feel like he has really just stepped up with not just Turning Point, but all conservatives across the United States. And so that's just one of the many things that struck at my heart with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, and I guess what of his views spoke to you the most? What do you feel like, he understood about you and what you care about as a conservative American that really spoke to you?
More specifically, the solutions that he provided, if it was like between same-sex marriage or gun rights, gun control. It just, honestly, all of it really just stuck out to me the most. But I mean, he was just someone that I very much liked, and proud to be in the same party as him and have him advocate for my generation. And the hope was, future generations as well. But as you know.
Well, Caroline, I know this is pretty early on and probably still trying to process this news. I'm kind of curious how you and your fellow college Republicans plan to go forward, given what happened. Are there, any plans to honor him in certain ways? Or what can you, I guess, tell us about that aspect going forward?
So we met tonight. We really the officers were considering, should we still have our meeting? And we all unanimously agreed that we still needed to have our meeting. We decided to pivot from what we originally planned to do. And so instead, we decided to talk about the stabbing in Charlotte, because that did happen between our last meeting and this meeting, as well as the news with Charlie Kirk. It was still very fresh, so still trying to figure out, what's happening. And we typically have people come in prior to our meeting just to be there early. And we had members from Turning Point coming in as well, just because they just felt lost, and they wanted to connect with those with similar values. So they came in, and we all just kind of talked about his legacy, what he meant to us. We had the news on in the background. We did watch the press release from the Utah, I believe it was the police department and the governor. But tomorrow night we planned for a 9/11 memorial, and we will be including a memorial for Charlie Kirk. Turning Point has a memorial for 9/11 on Sanford Mall early in the day, but I believe we are going to go to each other's events as well. And I do briefly know that Turning Point was supposed to have their inaugural meeting tomorrow, but that was canceled. It came from higher up in the nation, just pausing all events Turning Point related for the next week, just because of how shaken everyone everyone is.
And right now, NBC News is starting their coverage, a special report on the latest as Utah authorities have identified a suspected shooter in the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Let's go to them now. This is live on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Today, let's go to NBC's Morgan Chesky, and actually it was the president himself across the street here in New York on Fox and Friends breaking this news earlier today. Morgan.
Yeah, Savannah Craig, stunning development this morning from President Trump during that interview, saying that he had a high degree of certainty that law enforcement officials had a person in custody that they believe was in fact the person who fired the fatal shot, killing Charlie Kirk here on the campus of Utah Valley University. Since then, though, we have learned more details. As you mentioned, Savannah, he's been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson of Utah, and that correlates with what we heard from law enforcement yesterday, saying that this person of interest that they shared both images of and video of appeared to be a college-aged male. That pairs with the fact that Robinson is 22 years old. According to the president, Savannah and Craig, we're also hearing that it was someone very close to Robinson who recognized him from either the images or the video and then contacted law enforcement, and that began the process of bringing him into custody. We're hoping to hear more details and gain some clarity onto how exactly that all went down here in this press conference that should begin any minute now. But it has been a fast developing investigation here, with the release of the videos late last night by authorities in a press conference where FBI Director Kash Patel was in attendance. They did not take any questions at that time. They simply said, this is the individual just moments after firing the shot that killed Kirk. You can see him running on a campus rooftop. He then lowered himself and jumped off onto the ground. Officials say that they left behind a crucial trail of evidence: DNA on that rooftop ledge, a shoe print on the ground, and then a high-powered rifle in a nearby wooded area. All of that will now likely be used by investigators to hopefully or potentially be tied to Robinson now that he is in custody. One thing we have yet to hear from officials, despite calling this a politically motivated assassination, we have yet to see any particular piece of evidence that could lend itself to showing this person's state of mind or motivation, political ideology, anything of that nature. This is where this investigation is really now going to dig in to anything Robinson may have in his possession at a residence, on his phone, on a computer. And so that is where the investigation stands on that front now that this individual is in custody. I should point out that this campus, this community, was not put on lockdown for a long period of time because officials believe that this was a targeted attack and that they did not believe anyone else was at risk. Certainly a lot of relief in this community right now.
All right, Morgan Chesky there. Morgan, stand by. This news conference is getting underway. Let's listen in.
Director Kash Patel and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital O-W-O, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who has worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk. Erica Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners are proud to stand here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump, the Vice President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play, and we will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. But Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilize these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m., where at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And just last night, the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly. And I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI, and we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great. and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake Field Office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend, we'll continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that have stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere, and every life taken is a child of God who deserves our love and respect and dignity. This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, of who we have been, and who we could be in better times. Political violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence. Words are not violence. Violence is violence. And there is one person responsible for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. Like, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Can you speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that. Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," There's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's, I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating.
Please.
Beyond that, is there anything in review that you discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor,
Yeah,
you
please.
indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
Do you believe he acted alone?
Yes. But the investigation is ongoing.
How he came into custody of police and where he is right now?
Yes. So right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, I'll go here. I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. So how we obtained the gun was found here. So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry? We don't have any information that would lead us to believe that. Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes. I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you. Over here. I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history. Yes. The question is, what kind of watershed? And that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history, or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s, and having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets. We are not wired as human beings biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. But this is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here. I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here. Yes. Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
You've been watching live a press conference out of Utah, the latest from state and federal officials on the manhunt and now the identity of the suspected shooter in the killing of Charlie Kirk at the Utah Valley University. We do know that the suspect, Tyler Robinson, went to school there at the university for at least a semester. And that's where we find now Jim Nelson, reporter there, has been there for days, standing by with the very latest. Jim, you and I have been monitoring this press conference. What can you say about this suspected shooter, Tyler Robinson?
Well, I think the big thing, and as the officials outlined, was the role that releasing the video and releasing some of these photos played in ultimately this arrest. If you remember the day of the shooting, I think by the end of the day they had talked about how surveillance video was already starting to play a big role and how they expected it would play a big role in this investigation. Obviously, a college campus, as many public areas are these days, is equipped with a lot of surveillance cameras, and last night we started to see even more footage released, more pictures coming out, and it was through those avenues that officials suggested led to the arrest, that a family member and a friend ultimately were the ones to really help law enforcement make this arrest. They're recognizing obviously the pictures and then the interviews, the follow-ups once they were alerted to those connections that led to the arrest of Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from the state of Utah. The arrest was made almost 4 hours away near the border of Utah, Nevada, and Arizona in Washington County in Utah. Again, about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. So quite a distance from where we are here at Utah Valley University in Orem. There's obviously going to be a lot of blanks to fill out. I think the big headline, of course, undoubtedly the big headline, and it was actually one of the first quotes we heard from Governor Cox. I think he said, "We got him." And so bringing to an end this 33-hour manhunt, as FBI Director Kash Patel had pointed out, it was a 33-hour process from the time the investigation started until they were able to bring Robinson in. He is now booked, and formal charges will come in the next couple of days as Governor Cox kind of laid out the judicial process here in the state of Utah. So I think everybody's still processing it. We haven't really had a chance to talk to any students in the last couple of days because campus has been closed. They haven't necessarily been around other than here in passing, but I did have a chance to talk to some of those who were at the event on I guess that would have been Wednesday now at this point. It'll be interesting to see, how people are kind of processing that now that at least it appears justice has been served.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's hard to talk to any witnesses or student or staff there on campus, it's one of those, I would think, a feeling that's palpable, the silence speaking so loudly, and just sort of an eerie kind of heaviness there. Because we feel it here. We feel the heaviness of the week and the emotion, and now this manhunt, and what Director Patel said was made, this arrest of Robinson in historic time. So, yeah, what is the sense of just sort of the feelings out there?
Yeah, there's definitely a heaviness to the air. And look, people have been here. Obviously, this is mostly a crime scene, and it's mostly law enforcement and media, but especially yesterday toward the end of kind of the typical workday, we saw people coming and laying flowers and just taking a few moments to reflect at some of the memorials that were there. So there is kind of a pall over this area here, and that's students. I think that's also the community in general. We've seen a lot of supporters come out and, as I mentioned, lay flowers, lay candles. They lined one of the bridges with American flags a couple of days ago, and so there is that heaviness to it. I think the initial shock maybe gave way to things sinking in, and that's where that heaviness was especially felt. I think yesterday I had mentioned that it just seemed like it was sinking in more in this community, and now this is just one more step in that process where I think it will sink in a little bit more, as time often leads to that, but also these little steps along the way in terms of the judicial process.
Yeah, to that, Jim, Governor Cox said, the way it works here. Can you expand a little bit more on the 3 days of what needs to be done and what we can expect to see here next week?
Yeah, I think once those formal charges are filed, it's who knows when documents will start to come out. Obviously, every case is a little bit different, but that's where we might start to see a little bit more in terms of the detail. They outlined a good chunk of the detail in the process that investigators took here, but over the next couple of days, once it becomes official, we may see more of that coming out. But obviously, as is often the case in these high-profile cases, there's a lot of waiting to do, and there is obviously only so much that they want to release just to protect the integrity of the case. But that next step, of course, will be in a couple of days, the formal charging process.
Sure, that makes sense. And the evidence jarring with the inscriptions on the bullets as described, referring to the opera Bella Ciao, and some of the messages on Discord, and now that digital footprint aiding in the physical evidence that we saw from surveillance video, all put together in record time. Incredible work out there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And look, that's crime solving in modern times. There's so much that they go over, but they can do that obviously rather quickly, as we saw in this particular case.
Jim Nelson, thank you for covering this as we get all of the developments now on the assassination of Charlie Kirk out of Utah. Appreciate that live update.
Yeah, thanks.
Here in the Live Impact studio, we are coming up on 10:45. Let's go ahead and take a quick 2-minute break here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 10:45. We appreciate you joining us here Monday to Friday, 9 to 11 with myself, Jane Monreal, where we bring you live, local, national, and international news. Of course, one of the big stories this week, the killing, assassination of Charlie Kirk. We just heard from federal and state officials on the latest as they have a person in custody, a 22-year-old Utah resident, Tyler Robinson, whose family was a large part in the reason why authorities were able to arrest him. Right now, we want to switch gears and go to what is happening live. This is the Nebraska Legislative Urban Affairs Committee. It's an interim hearing to discuss any potential building code issues in a proposed ICE detention facility. Let's go ahead and listen in live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Capacity right now, but it is maybe within its operational capacity. I believe the department says the operational capacity for WEC is 125. Okay. So it would be above the operational capacity as well. And the operational capacity would presumably include people who work there. In having more people work there allows you to increase the operational capacity. It's a whole lot of different factors that go into it, but it's actually defined in state law too. There's different definitions of operational capacity across the country depending on your state. Gotcha.
All right, everybody, it looks like that picture froze just for a second here, but again, this is good to go. This is out of Nebraska, an urban affairs meeting on a proposed ICE detention facility.
So there would probably be a way to control the flow from one side to the other and have one
That feed is apparently chugging right along. We are changing channels to get you a clean feed here. Back to it now on CNC Plus.
But I'm totally speculating.
For the sleeping.
For the sleeping.
And we're talking about if you're increasing the use, you're also using the common spaces for sleeping.
Yeah, if you were to use some of those classrooms or multi-purpose rooms in the administrative building, then that's in a separate building. Yeah, you would, as far as like sharing cafeteria space or yard space, they would have to figure out if they wanted to keep those populations separate, how they would do that. I don't know how they, haven't given that any thought. It probably depends on the number of each sex that are there.
Would it be best practices in a carceral facility to keep children and adults separate?
Yeah, what I've been told, or what we've learned, is that there won't be children there. That's what we were told when we were out at WEC.
Would it be best practices to keep men and women separate?
WEC originally housed both men and women, so there is some precedent to that. Community corrections centers hold both men and women, so it's possible.
In the same spaces?
Community Corrections Center Lincoln and previously the Community Corrections Center Omaha were all in the same building. And Senator Roundtree and I were at Community Corrections Center Omaha, and there's a hallway that, and the men were within, their hallway was 15, 20 feet away. So they were in the same building. And they used the same, cafeteria space, visitation space.
Okay. At the same time?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Senator Klaus and then Senator Routher.
Okay, thank you. Senator McKinney. So some of that's hypothetical because we don't even know if kids will be there. We really don't have all that information. So
correct.
We're trying to talk about spaces and we don't even know what the population or census is going to be. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you may or may not, this might be outside your scope, have you talked to the folks from McCook?
As far as
the city folks, leadership, and I've talked to some of them, and they have the same questions. There's just so much we don't know at this point. And then I was looking at the online comments, the 230 some. There's only 3 or 4 from a cook. Everything by far. I mean, it wasn't even close. The majority was Lincoln and Omaha. We had maybe 3 or 4 from Kearney, 3 or 4 from North Platte. Just not a lot of online comments from that. And I've talked to a lot of people out in our area. So it's just, there's a lot of concern. Didn't mention that, but there's just so many questions and no answers, and so some of the stuff we're dealing with in my mind is hypothetical until we know exactly what we're dealing with. I don't know when that's going to be, and that's where I come back to my earlier point. Some of that lack of information becomes misinformation, which becomes rumors, which becomes chaos. So I'm hoping we can start getting some answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Roundtree.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Corbett, yes, that's a couple of things. I just want to address your comment there. That's why I asked the governor's office to push information out so that you eliminate all of the conjecture, rumors, and things of that nature. Information and good, solid, truthful information is powerful. So with that, we also talked about whether there's an immigration judge that's out in the area. That's something that I know we don't know. But looking at the facility, will there be space for an immigration courtroom and also spaces for members or detainees to have private meetings with their legal counsel? That's an important part of our due process.
I believe when we were out there, Senator Bosden and Senator Bohr both asked about that. And I think there's some of those classrooms that they use now they won't be using in the future. So I would anticipate that they would convert some of that space to things like that for those uses. But right now there isn't like an attorney room or a private visitation room that I'm aware of. I've been out there a number of times. My office usually goes out there at least twice a year to talk to the staff, talk to the warden, talk to the incarcerated individuals, and get a better understanding of what's going on out there.
Thank you. Senator John Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, Mr. Kobenek again. Just to Senator Klaus's point, I do think it's really important to get information, which is why it's really great that you're here to answer our questions, and it would be nice if some of these other folks would have been here to answer some of these other questions so we don't have as much conjecture. But I'm trying to focus on the things that I think you're empowered to answer. So one of my questions was about the state of Nebraska is basically on the hook to pay for medical care for the folks that are housed in this facility. Are we going to have to provide medical care for the folks who would be housed there under an ICE detention?
Again, I think, like Senator Klaus said, that's probably, we have to wait to see the contract and everything to see how that's all structured. But I would anticipate that we would have that responsibility. There are medical staff out there right now.
Well, I guess my question is not whether there's going to be a contract, whether there's somebody housed in our facilities, regardless of the contract, if it's our obligation. There are currently people housed in some state facilities that are not under commitment by the state of Nebraska. We have
anybody who's incarcerated under the state, we have that responsibility. And then we have county safekeepers that come in and they haven't been committed to the Department of Corrections after their trial. But there's an agreement with the counties that they share that responsibility. The counties will cover the cost. So I don't know how it will look like with the federal government, but I would anticipate that we would have that we'd have to fill that need. I mean, people will need medical treatment.
And under a contractual relationship, it still would remain a state facility. Would it be your understanding that the Inspector General would still have authority to come and observe the conditions there?
That's a very good question, and I don't have the answer to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Quick.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. My question is for the inmates out there now, is there do they work within the community? I mean, are there jobs outside of, can they go out and work in the community and other jobs? And can you explain how that actually works? Is there contracts?
All right, everybody. Jane Monreal back here with you on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's go ahead and take a quick break while we get that picture back up for you on Live Impact News. Stay with us. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We want to get you updated now with the latest on a shooter suspect for Charlie Kirk at University, Utah.